What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 615, and this is your host, Lewis. And today, by the graphic, you see we're talking running back with Ken Moore. And of course, we're going to dig into a couple other things, talk a little bit of A.J. Brown, and also talk about Big Jeff getting his fifth year option. And we'll be back to talk all that here in about 90 seconds. And we're going to go ahead and bring our guest in, Ken Moore. Ken, what is going on?
Hey man, nothing much. Glad to be on the show. It's draft day eve. So a lot of people are excited about the upcoming draft as well as they should be. Titans with the number 26 pick. So, it's been an exciting offseason so far. And of course, it continues with the draft in Vegas this weekend.
And then, of course, I said we're going to start out talking. Big Jeff gets his fifth year option picked up. So we at least have at least one more year with Big Jeff after this year.
Well, two more years. He's going into his fourth year this year. And then, of course, we'll have his fifth year next year. Not a surprise. A lot of guys around the league got tagged today with teams picking up the fifth year option. Typically happens right before the draft or right after the draft. He'll be making around a little over $10.5 million in 2023, which is a great value for a guy of Jeff Simmons' production. Guys really on pace to be the next great dominant defensive tackle in the NFL behind Aaron Donald. And the Titans got a steal with him a couple of years ago in the draft. They got him in the middle of the first round. He was coming off of a knee injury. And that's the last great pick that John Robinson has made in the first round. The last two picks have not panned out thus far. They say Caleb Farley has been looking good in OTAs so far. So hopefully he can continue to progress. But yeah, it's nice to have Big Jeff Simmons locked up for at least two more seasons.
And of course, Titan Pratt. What is going on to Titan Pratt? I was on with him last night. Dug into AJ a little bit, and of course he's excited about the whole draft situation. As am I. I feel like this could be a big year if J. Rob gets it right.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's critically important for the Titans to start hitting on his draft picks. The last great draft he had was that 2019 draft when he got David Long, when he got Jeffrey Simmons,
AJ Brown.
A couple of those guys, AJ Brown. That was the last great draft. The last two drafts, not so much, not yet. So hopefully this draft will be very productive.
And of course, we're also talking AJ Brown. And of course, the whole situation And there's a quote from Jeremy Fowler, from ESPN. And he says the feeling is very much that Brown will be a Titan long term. He's been in touch with coaches, and everyone is in a good place. And that is from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. And Ken, what's your thought on the whole AJ Brown situation?
I think it's a lot of unnecessary drama, to be completely honest with you. We all know that AJ is a very good receiver. AJ deserves to be paid as such. Does AJ deserve to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL? No, he
No.
does not. He's not the best wide receiver in the NFL. But does he command top five, top $6? I believe he does. I think the Titans believe that he does as well. But it's going to have to be a deal that makes sense for both sides. It's not like Major League Baseball where there's no salary cap. I mean, there's a salary cap that he has to slide into. He's scheduled to make a little over $4 million this year. The Titans, it's been reported that they've offered him $20 million a year. So that's a pretty nice jump from $4 million to $20 million. Because the Titans hold all the cards right now because AJ is under contract for $4.5 million this year. The Titans have the franchise tag in their back pocket for the next 2 seasons after that. So it's not like AJ can request a trade if it got to that point, but it doesn't mean that the Titans have to acquiesce if such a trade offer came from him. So unlike Tyreek Hill, unlike Davante Adams, from our understanding, AJ Brown has not gone in, asked for a trade. Apparently, he's very happy in Nashville. He's in a very good situation with a very good football team, team that's still a Super Bowl contender. So I think the deal will get done sometime over the summer, may get into training camp, probably right before training camp. I would expect something to get done. That's usually when these things take place.
And speaking of money-wise, tell me, is this a fair deal in your opinion? 5 years, $125 million for AJ Brown, with $2.5 million of his salary per year being incentive based.
What's the guaranteed money? That's the key.
That is the key. I hadn't gotten around to those numbers because that's roughly $25 million a year.
Yeah, that's the key. AJ Brown would jump at that, right?
I believe he would.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't jump at that? I think that's a bit much because when you're talking about a salary of that amount, you're looking at guaranteed money probably around $90 to $100 million. The highest guaranteed right now, I believe, is Tyreek Hill at $72 million, I believe, guaranteed. I'll have to double check those numbers. But yeah, I think that number is actually probably too high for AJ Brown. I was thinking probably somewhere around 20, 21 million, 22 million, around 65, 66 guaranteed. That's about where Davante Adams is right now. But Davante Adams is a better wide receiver than AJ Brown.
Yeah.
The one thing that AJ Brown has going for him is AJ Brown is younger. AJ Brown is still on his first contract, where Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, those guys are on their second contract. So that's a big difference. That's a big factor. So the advantage for AJ is that he can lock in a lot of money now and then come back in about 3 or 4 years and get a second contract if he's very productive and he can stay healthy. So I'm thinking somewhere probably in the 65 to 70 million guaranteed number is where the Titans are looking to get.
And of course, as I was saying, that's right there, right on $25 million a year. But if you take that $2.5 million, that would put him back at around 22.5. if you take that 2.5 million for incentives.
Right. Right. And
So
all contracts have some incentive, Pro Bowl incentives, all pro incentives,
yards,
number of catches, things of that nature. So,
yeah.
yeah, you can definitely have those built into the contract. Absolutely.
And then, of course, everybody knows we're here talking running back. And I'd mentioned this to Titan Truth. He was like, "I'm not sure, but you played running back, didn't you?"
I did.
So this is your area of expertise, pretty much.
Yes. Yes. This is my pet peeve, if you will, the running
And
back position.
so we're going to go ahead and dive into my dark horse list. And I say it's fair. Devontae Price out of FIU, is he a good receiver or a good running back? Yes, but he's coming out of a small conference.
Yeah, you never know with these guys, right? That come out of small schools. Obviously, Chris Johnson came out of a small school, and he's a borderline Hall of Famer. We saw Darrington Evans come out a couple of years ago, and he could never stay on the football field. So it's guys that can live up to the billing. And I've always been a proponent. If you can play football, you will be found and you will have an opportunity to shine. It's what you do with that opportunity once you get it, in training camp, at the combine, in preseason games, being available, being healthy. Those are the things that allow these young guys to make a team. So you have to be available, you have to be productive, and you have to be healthy. You can't have continuous injuries and things of that nature. So that's the main key for these young guys coming in from smaller schools.
And then, of course, let's jump in like it's like the bigger school guys. Like you see it right there at number 7, James Cook out of Georgia. Yes, we know who his brother is. His brother is Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. And of course, like you have like a guy like Tyler Algier right there out of BYU. Do I like him? Yes. If he's there in a later round, if you're John Robinson, do you jump on a guy like a Tyler Algier or a James Cook?
I don't know if I see the Titans taking a running back in this draft. I mean, it may be late, day 3, 6th, 7th round. We don't have a second round pick this year. So you got a first round pick, and then you got your third and fourth round picks. And those picks have to go to positions of need, like wide receiver,
Offensive line.
offensive line, perhaps secondary. You may need another corner, a nickel corner or something like that, just depending on what happens with Caleb Farley. So you may have to have some depth there. I would love, and I know we're not going to talk about kickers, I would love for the Titans to try to find the best kicker in the draft later as a later round pick, 5th and 6th round. So I'm not sure that the Titans use draft capital on a running back this draft. I think if they did, it would be very late.
Like
Unless they fell in love with somebody and decided, to trade back and pick up someone. But it's definitely not a position of need for this particular draft.
which, of course, the Titans have met with James Cook out of Georgia. He was one of their top 30 visits. And, of course, we actually have somebody that wants to say, go Astros.
Go Stros, baby. Go Stros.
But dealing with dark horses, where did you go in that particular area?
My dark horse is a guy out of South Dakota State named Pierre Strong. He was very impressive at the combine. This guy has a lot of size, a lot of strength, a lot of durability. I think he could be one of those guys that you could see as a 6th, 7th round pick. He may even go higher than that to someone else. I think I put him as my 10th, kind of my 10th best running back on the board. And out of a small school, But Pierre Strong out of South Dakota State, I think that's a guy to keep an eye on.
And then, of course, where did you go at for number 5 heading into your top 5?
Five, guy right up the road from me at Texas A&M, Isaiah
Isaiah
Spiller.
Spiller.
Isaiah Spiller. He had a very productive 3-year career with the Aggies. Very quick, very elusive. And in a lot of mock drafts, he's all over the board. Some people have him in their top 5. Some people have him like 8, 9, 10. To me, he cracks my top 5. I think Isaiah Spiller could be a very productive running back in the NFL. Just got to stay healthy.
Well, Ken, this might shock you. I went with another SEC guy. I went Jerrion Ealy out of Ole Miss, which he's 5'9", 185. Is that on the smaller end of a running back? Yes. And of course, you see the average weight for a running back that's shorter than 6 foot is in the ballpark of around 215.
5'9", 185 was my playing weight 25 years ago. So,
well, boys have gotten bigger.
Yeah, that's my point.
so
you better be very fast. I don't know what his 40 time is, but he better be very fast.
And of course,
perhaps a third down back out of the backfield, something like that.
Which he's decent in the screen game. That's one of the big pros for me is outside of Derek, we really don't have that screen game threat. Can Derek catch on the backfield? Yes, but we need a true, sort of like Dion Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this guy, he's shifty and elusive. But the con that he's you see the con right there. I say he could pack on at least 30 more pounds.
Well, you're talking about going from 185 to 215. You're gonna make the kid a fullback.
Which that wouldn't be a bad idea. We need outside of Corey Carter. Who do we have?
Yeah, when you can't add on that much weight on a 5'9" frame and still keep your speed and quickness.
That is, now that you bring that up. But the thing I like about this kid,
I've gained 30 pounds and I'm not nearly as quick as I was at 185.
but the thing that I really saw about this kid, he breaks off those huge runs. His skill set, I would say, somewhere is right there, right around a Christian McCaffrey, which we all know how good Christian McCaffrey can be when healthy. Do you agree? Do you agree?
Pretty high praise.
Well, he did have a pretty good year, but heading into number 4, I had to go Kennedy Brooks out of Oklahoma.
Okay.
He's probably one of the most physical runners in my top 5. And of course, he has the quickness when he hits that second gear. He's probably one of the hardest guys to get.
Yeah, Kennedy kind of had an up and down career at OU. He is a very physical runner. Obviously, he's battle tested, playing in the Big 12, major college football. OU has obviously produced a lot of great running backs. I don't have him in my top 5, but I think Kennedy Brooks could very well be a sleeper. He could very well be kind of those mid-round, 4th, 5th round selections.
Yes.
Because I don't know if any of these I don't know if any of these running backs go in the first round just because the position has been so devalued, which in my opinion is a mistake that a lot of teams make. You look at how many teams would love to have a Derrick Henry who went in the second round, a Jonathan Taylor who went in the second round. Those are first round producing elite level running backs. And if you have an opportunity to grab one in the first round and it's a need for your football team, I think you should do so. But I think Kennedy Brooks could be one of those 4th, 5th round guys if he can find the right team and the right scheme for him.
And you see, he's only 5'11", but he plays bigger than what he is.
Well, 5'11" is a good height for a running back. That's kind of where you want to be. You don't want
Yeah,
to be too
but
tall. I mean, Derrick Henry's very tall for a running back, Eric Dickerson type deal. But you kind of want to be in that 5'11", 6-foot range. That's
but
kind of your ideal size for an RB.
yeah, but if we're as I said, you see, he's 5'11", but he plays like he's like 6'1", 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
And the running game at Oklahoma, by what I saw on tape, is very similar to what the Titans do.
Mm-hmm.
And the offense they run at Oklahoma, they were running their backs 20 to 25 times a game.
Yeah, they had a very young quarterback last year, and of course they had a lot of controversy at the quarterback position because I believe the freshman took over against my guys, University of Texas, and led them to a win. And then he played the rest of the year. So they had a freshman
Yeah.
quarterback last year, so they didn't want to put too much pressure on him. So they leaned on the running game a lot, and then they didn't have a very good defense as well at OU. So they wanted to use that ground game to take pressure off the young quarterback and then also eat up a lot of clock. So that was kind of the game plan there at OU last season.
And of course, the quarterback you referred to is now at USC with Lincoln Riley and Caleb
Yes.
Williams.
Correct.
And of course, the other quarterback, Spencer Rattler, end up at South Carolina. So, speaking of number 4, where did you end up at number 4?
I actually had your guy, James Cook, out of Georgia. Yeah, I had James Cook out of Georgia, man. As you mentioned, a brother of Dalvin Cook. He could get to that second level. Had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 11 touchdowns last season. That's the type of guy that can go into a team and start day one. I mean, Georgia produces quality running backs year after year after year, kind of like Alabama. And if you get one of those guys into your program and you put them behind a good offensive line, you're going to get a lot of production.
You're going to get really good guys if you get one of those guys from either of those schools.
Yep.
And look what's happened with us. We got Derrick Henry, and he's been pretty good.
Yeah, and the thing about the kids from Georgia is that they share carries. So you don't have one guy getting 30, 35 carries a game. So, there's less tread on their body as they enter the NFL.
So, and of course, where'd you go at number 3?
I have his teammate, Zamir White.
He's a kid. He's a kid. I did look up. I'm like, I would rather have James Cook over White.
Kind of 1-2. You can go either way. I mean, they're different style backs. Zamir White is more of a downhill power guy,
like up the middle,
maybe kind of like a Deontay Foreman type. Not as big as Deontay, but similar running style. So depending again on what you're looking for, if you're looking for a power back, then you want to look at somebody like a Zamir White. If you're looking for a little bit more shiftiness, speed, and elusiveness, then you would want to go with James Cook, just depending on what type of scheme and what you're looking for in the position.
And then, of course, at number 3, I had to go with the kid out of Iowa State, Breece Hall. Could he be a nice change of pace back? Yeah, he could. And could he challenge Dontrell Hilliard for that second spot if the Titans were to go there with him? Do you think he could challenge Hilliard?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Breece Hill is I actually have him number 2 on my board. So he is a guy. I mean, he's a day one starter on some teams.
And
so yeah, could he eventually replace Derrick if the Titans decided to draft him? Yeah, he could definitely be the heir apparent to Derrick Henry. He's a great back. He's about 5'11", about 215, and he can play all 3 downs. He can, first, second, and third down. He doesn't have to come out of out of the game. He's got nice hands as well. He's a good blocker, and he's a tough kid. I mean, you go to Iowa State, you play football, you play in all kinds of weather. So yeah, I like Breece Hall a lot.
And then, of course, heading to number 2, I went with the guy you had at number 5 at number 2, Isaiah Spiller.
Oh, okay.
And of course,
so we're on the same page. We just got them in different orders.
Yes. And of course, I had to go with him at number 2. Am I being biased? Maybe. But he has great balance in the running game. His eye discipline is incredible. He sees where the blocking assignments are before they even start developing. And that is a characteristic on a really good running back. Like if you look at like an Eddie George back in the day, he knew where the hole was going to be before it even opened.
Mm-hmm.
And he could be a pretty decent receiving threat. Just go back and look at that Alabama game. Go look at the Arkansas game where he had the huge run. This kid is probably the biggest threat outside of my guy at number 1. And the thing I like about him, he's actually familiar with our type of offense because this is pretty much the same type of offense they run at A&M. They pretty much have a run first offense at A&M.
Yeah, he's more suited for outside zone scheme where you have that one step cutback type ability. So yeah, again, I mentioned him. I like Isaiah a lot. A lot of people have him all over the board, but it only takes one team to fall in love with him. So yes. I got him at number 5. You got him at number 2. Yeah.
And then, of course, at number 2, where did you go at number 2?
Well, we just talked about it. Breece Hill, Hall,
Bryce Hall, the kid out of Iowa State, and of course, number 1. Where did you go at number 1?
To me, it's a no-brainer. It's Kenneth Walker, the third out of Michigan State. I'm not sure if that's who you have at number 1 or not, but I think this is the absolutely. I think this is a kid that should go in the first round, in my opinion. I think he's a game changer. He's been the best running back in college football. He's got sub 4.4 speed. He played at Michigan State. I think he's tremendous.
And of course, I don't think you saw the pro I had there at the very bottom. He's an in-state kid. He played at Arlington High School just outside of Memphis.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay.
I was digging into him. I'm like, where did he go to high school? And I saw it said Arlington High School. I'm like, where's that at? And I went and looked, and it's Arlington, Tennessee. And I was like, where's that at? And it's about an hour. It's about 2.5, 3 hours out, just west of Nashville.
Okay.
But and of course, you see the very bottom. I say he goes as soon as the 2nd, but as late as the 4th. And if he's there in the 4th and he drops to you at 131, do you take him?
Oh, no doubt, absolutely.
And I'm going to show you the one play that really made me say, "Hey, this is my number 1 guy." And it was the game against Rutgers this year. And we're going to roll this.
But this will help get him some breathing room. Walker across the 30, still on his feet. There he goes.
Look at those moves.
Kenneth Walker. He's going to go all the way. One play.
That was 94 yards. Tell me you don't sense a little bit of Derrick Henry.
Oh, the kid's tremendous. He's tremendous. I think another comp for him is kind of like Jonathan Taylor. You know, Jonathan Taylor played in the Big Ten at Wisconsin, I believe, and he was a tremendous running back. He was a guy that I really wanted the Titans to take when he came out.
But nope, he ended up Indy.
And then he went to Indy, and that really made me mad. So, but yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker, I think is going to be tremendous, for a team that needs a running back. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a team like the Texans take him early in the second round. Because they need a quality running back down here for the Texans. So I think that would be a huge asset for them if they could get him in the second round, give them a running game behind Davis Mills. If, like I said, the Titans aren't taking him, well, we don't even have a second round pick, so we're definitely not taking a running back in the first round. And we're probably not taking one in the third round either. But yeah, if he's there in the fourth round, which he won't be, I mean, this kid will be long gone by then. But yeah, he tremendous running back. Clearly the best running back in the class, in my opinion. And I think he's going to be tremendous if he can get to a good team that has a good offensive line and a decent offensive coordinator that knows how to use him.
And then, of course, speaking about first round. Of course, we are we're about 23 and a half hours out from the NFL draft. Speaking of first round, where do you see the Titans going?
I think it's going to be offensive line, man. I like the center out of Iowa,
which I don't see. I don't see that center being there. I think he goes late teens.
That's possible. I believe there's a guard out of Boston College.
Zion Johnson
College, Boston College. But I think the Titans go offensive line.
And the one guy that I've mentioned, he was my number one offensive lineman. And it happens to be the other guy from A&M, Kenyon Green.
You're in love with those Aggies, aren't you?
I am. Actually, I like him. If he's there at 26, do you take him?
Not taking any Aggies. We got enough Aggies. Got an Aggie at quarterback, and we got an Aggie kicking the ball. And both of them, are inconsistent. The only Aggie I might take is Chris Spiller. That's the only one. Isaiah Spiller, pardon me.
But speaking of running backs, one guy to keep your eye out on for next year has to be Devon Achane. He's also a track star at A&M. He broke Bo Jackson's 100-meter.
I have not seen the kid play yet, so I can't comment.
Well, he split reps with Spiller last year.
Right.
And, of course, as I said, he broke Bo Jackson's 100-meter this year in track. Where Bo Jackson, I think it was like 10.3. Achane ran it in 10.14.
Impressive.
He's got speed for days. And so that's one of my names to keep an eye out on for 2023.
Okay. Duly noted.
And of course, I'm going to go ahead and throw your socials down here at the bottom. If anybody wants to check out Ken, you see his YouTube right there at the bottom. And is there anywhere else any people can find you at?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube at Kmore Sports. During the season, I typically have a show, Titans, the day after. So typically after every game, the next day, usually on a Monday night, if it's a Sunday game, we'll have a show recapping the day's game. And typically on Sunday mornings, we also usually have a Titans preview show before the game, letting you know who the inactives are. We had fun last year. We did our first year of doing a pick six. We picked 6 games of the upcoming weekend. did pretty good on that, I must say. So those are where you can find me on YouTube at Kmore Sports. You can also find me on Twitter at Kmore Sports as well. Sometimes we get lucky with some breaking news, like we had with Jadeveon Clowney a couple of years ago. We had some early news on Julio Jones this past off season, so you never know what's going to shake out. So make sure you follow me on Twitter, and then of course on Instagram at Kenmore Sports on IG.
And of course, speaking of like breaking news, we did the whole trade for Robert Woods to add into that receiving core with AJ. What was your thoughts of that whole situation with the trade for Robert Woods?
It was a good deal considering we only gave up, I believe, like a 6th-round pick. His salary is very manageable. I think at around $12 million a year, $10-12 million a year, if I'm not mistaken. So a very manageable salary. I was surprised when they did not bring Julio back, considering the compensation that we gave up for him. We don't have a 2nd-round pick this year because of the Julio Jones trade. So I am surprised that they did not bring Julio back. But Robert Woods, if he can come back from the injury, right, from the ACL, and the Titans, the injuries don't bother them. They'll draft guys with injuries. They'll trade for guys with injuries. The injuries don't bother them like it does some other teams. So if he can come back healthy, I think he can be a solid number 2 receiver. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem with him being injured. He won't get any practice time on the field with Ryan Tannehill this summer. He will not get any practice time likely during the preseason with Ryan Tannehill.
And
so his first practices may be during the season. And so you're going to have to drop him into the regular season in a brand new offense with a brand new quarterback, and the timing could be off. Where have we seen this before? With Julio Jones.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, that was the problem. Julio Jones couldn't practice. You could never get the timing right with him and Tannehill. He would be in the game. He would only get maybe 3 or 4 targets a game in the games that he did play in. And that was a continuous problem the entire season. So that's the only thing that worries me is the lack of preseason and summer practice time for him and Ryan Tannehill to get on the same page.
And then, of course, let's go back through some of these comments. Al Pierce, I think he was talking about Jerrion Ealy. Doesn't Hilliard fit that role? We need a power back to spell Henry, and he's not like a Foreman type of back.
Al, my biggest disappointment of this offseason was us not re-signing D'Onta Foreman.
And of course,
I thought that he only got like $2.5 million from Carolina. He's a perfect complement to Derek. I thought that was a kid that you can give 8 to 10 carries a game, save some wear and tear on Derek's body. You're not going to find a better value in the NFL than D'Onta Foreman at $2 million. But back to your point, yeah, in my opinion, you have to have 3, right? You want a receiving back, kind of like a McNichols that can come out of the backfield, has a little bit of a pop if he gets into the open field, that's tough, that can make some tough catches on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, that's going to catch the ball, put his head down, and pick up the first down. But then you also want another bruiser just in case something happens to Derek. Just in case, that foot goes out or something else happens. He's getting a little bit older. So, yeah, you want a good compliment for Derek, and we're going to have to find one somewhere.
And, of course, talking about Derek's age, he's 11 months older than I am. We were born same year, 11 months apart, to the date. But, of course, Titan Pratt has one thing. He's wanting to know if you would follow him on Twitter.
No doubt. No doubt. Go follow me, Titan Pratt, and then I will hit you back. No doubt. No problem.
And then, of course, Al was like asking if that whole deal was doable. The whole Foreman. Could the Titans have swung that?
Deontay Foreman loved it in Nashville. I mean, he had 2 stints with the Titans. He was productive in both stints with the Titans.
Yes.
If we give the ball more to Deontay Foreman against Cincinnati, who knows what happens? I don't understand what happened there. I don't know if Deontay, some people say, hey, Deontay wanted an opportunity to start, where you're not going to start in Carolina with Christian McCaffrey there. Yeah. So you're going to be a backup to McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey has more of an injury history than Derek does. So he may get more carries in Carolina than he would here. So I don't know, to be honest, where the breakdown was. But look, I would have offered the kid an extra $300,000 or $400,000 to come back. And
yes, I would have. I probably would have went about $3 million a year.
Yeah.
For a deal for Deontay Foreman.
Yep.
Well, of course, Ken, thank you for, of course, coming and hanging out, even though it's only been a little bit. And of course, everybody, my socials are at the bottom, and my Spotify link is in the description. And Titans fans, of course, I will be back tomorrow afternoon to do basically a quick mock draft, a breakdown of where I think the Titans. Tomorrow, Titans fans, stay classy and tighten up.